Good morning, good day, good evening, wherever you are. Let's start this. Let's start the finale. Hopefully, absolute finale of 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. It's been a fantastic experience so far. Unfortunately, I wasn't quite able to finish the game on Thursday. Not that I'm really complaining about that. I would have wished to sort of wrap it up all in one go. I don't know how much of the game we really have left. There clearly is another battle. And there might be some sort of epilogue scene, whatever. I do wanted to go into the event archive and sort of chronologically go over the events that have transpired over the course of the game as well. So, that might take some additional time, but might be a bit of a shorter stream than was originally planned, but we'll see about that. Also, it's going to be interesting to see how difficult that last battle is actually going to be. So I thought about a little bit about the last battle that I did, the boss battle in Area 3. I found it was cool. It was definitely more challenging than the other stages. It's just a bit weird that they suddenly present you with challenges that you have no idea how to handle because the rest of the game is incredibly easy. I talked about that the last time as well. At the end of the stream, and it was just a bit unfortunate because I kind of wanted to get through it because I thought, maybe I would be able to finish the game, but clearly that wasn't going to happen. Never mind that though. Let's do it today and see where this goes, and then hopefully we can piece it all together and we can get a complete picture of what's been happening and how all of these characters and this entire setting fits together. Maybe answer some remaining questions. I don't know if I'm actually going to go for analysis 100%. I might at some point in the future. I don't know if it's really that important, right? I know that I'm missing some mystery files that you can get through some bonus objectives. Probably fairly easy to get, but then again, some of the mystery files just aren't that important, right? What's important is the event archive, I think, more so than the mystery files. Some of the mystery files are important, obviously, but you get all of them through the main story. The optional ones are more, flavor text, I would say. Yeah, but as I said, we are in the final battle, the final boss battle, it looks like, in the final area. And it's going to be interesting to see whether or not this is going to be a lot more difficult than the other ones. It's honestly difficult to say. Okay, so this time we don't have any bonus objectives, and it just says horde of many kaiju will appear. Interestingly enough, you also don't get any S-rank rewards and stuff. So I wonder if they're... Yeah, that's actually no idea what they're going to throw at us here. It's actually a bit unfortunate that we have couple here being brain overloaded. Let's see. If I go with Kisaragi, she always has the Fuyusaka or Yakushiji, right? Fuyusaka's brain overloaded, so I'd have to bring Yakushiji. Unfortunately, Ogata, I also can't bring. Yeah, it's actually a little bit of a bad setup, right? I could actually recover. I mean, I don't know how important it's going to be moving forward to have the consecutive battles win streak still active. Then again, I mean, I've done it like this for the majority of the game, so... Honestly, let's just go with the ones that I think are the best. So definitely gonna go with Takamiya. Let's go with Kisaragi. I probably want two... do I want to go with two ranged and one main?
Is Jiro going too?
I'll fight.
Let's maybe do this. Not entirely sure if that's going to be the best setup, but I think I just kind of want to try it like this. Okay, so they have all their stuff upgraded. I think last time I was just sort of going through and unlocking the rest of their stuff. Like these things, for example. How many meta chips do I have? Holy shit. Why the hell? Did that last battle give me 400,000 meta chips? I mean, the thing is, I just kind of want to go through and unlock stuff to be able to, you know, if I want to go back and do a couple of these battles, like in a more optimized way, or if I do want to unlock the bonus objectives and stuff, would probably not be the worst to have everything sort of available. And upgraded as well. Though that being said, I probably also want to upgrade a couple of their stats, to be honest. Once I've unlocked everything here. Okay, yeah, since I still have so many meta chips, not that it's going to be that much of a difference, but in terms of the Sentinel upgrade, right, I should probably increase his speed, right? Speed. I'm actually not entirely sure what accuracy really does. Let's maybe go with this to +5 or something. Okay. God, I hated that it doesn't stop properly on 0. Yeah, sure, let's go with this. Kurabe might need a couple more EP. Something like this, just so that I can set up more sentry guns. Which is also, I think that's mainly, I was relying on the sentry guns and everything so much that I got problems during that last boss battle against the High Quad because it was constantly using EMP and disabling all my cool sentry guns. I think during that battle, at some point, I had like 10 or 12 sentry guns set up, but they just didn't do anything because they were all constantly being EMP'd. So I guess that was a little bit unfortunate. Attack and accuracy would probably be the best for her, right? Get that 2+6 maybe. Kisaragi, I guess, would need the same. God, why do they have so much EP? It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Okay. Yakushiji. It's unfortunate that you can't... is there, like, attack and HP? No. Attack and EP. I could go with this. Sure, why not? And Takamiya, the same thing. Okay. I still have meta chips left over. Let's actually give Hijiyama a bit more. I feel like the melee pilots... you know, they can use more stuff as well. They usually have, I don't know, the melee pilots, they can be incredibly good, but they're definitely the toughest to use, I would think, in order to really get their full potential out and to be sure that they're not, you know, being attacked by something, or that you can move them around the battlefield as well. That's like a big thing. That's really important for them. Let's just put the rest in here. Oh, that's unfortunate. Oh well. I guess let's just try it, see what happens. I mean, if there aren't any objectives for S rank, I'd imagine that you also don't get ranked at all.
Would really love a clue about what's gonna happen. How much do you know about universal control? Well, it manages the world, right? Keeps things running smooth, keeps us thinking we're from our own eras. So why would it let some crazy disaster like this go unchecked?
Because it's programmed to do it.
You're saying it's not working? Universal control is still operating. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be getting headlines of this happening around the world.
So, the system doesn't think this is unusual? That's right. Because it's checking it against the decode inside you. It convinces the system that's a normal process. That's when the Deimos appear. Universal control has no idea it's under attack.
The mainframe gets taken over before it can even register anything. It forces a manual system reset.
But isn't this supposed to
If it
happen?
was aware of any of this, it'd never let this situation even happen.
It still hasn't picked up on the problem? This whole giant robot apocalypse thing is kinda hard to miss.
The Aegis severs the link. It can't detect any of this.
Cutting off its connection to its nerves. Like a doctor's anesthetic before the knife.
It's numb to the intrusion. And that's why we have to wake it up and show it the threat.
So that's Operation
We
Aegis.
have to make the system understand. This is not normal. It's a state of emergency. So how do we do that? I can broadcast the terminal link signal from the command ship I'm on. By routing the signal through here, I can reconnect the link severed by the Aegis. That should make Universal Control finally realize what's going on. So this was your big fallback plan? Yes. It's the only option we have left. And that'll fix all of this? We won't have to fight anymore? Not yet. You've still got 5 minutes and 44 seconds until the mainframe is ready. If the final terminal is taken over before then, when the world gets reset, you'll all vanish along with it. This is the moment of truth. The final battle. Please, protect us all.
It's going to be interesting. So we have to survive for 5 minutes something? Is that it? Defend the terminal until the mainframe activates. Okay. Well, this is going to be interesting. I still don't fully understand though, because wasn't one of the big points that this entire Project Arc system was specifically set up so it would reset until it finds some sort of condition that forces it to not reset anymore? I mean, maybe we'll find out more about that at the end. So, yeah, I always thought that while this is obviously bad for the people within the worlds, that it was still something that was supposed to happen. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't even need a Sector Zero, right? I mean, maybe you'd want a backup in, you know, every case, but there are definitely some of these sort of lingering questions where you kind of go, was this just something that a character thought at some point needed to happen? Was it something that was set up without the knowledge of other characters maybe, and that's why it's happening? And why the universal control system has no idea? Or isn't it even happening? There are definitely a couple of things that are still very, very unclear about this. But I think we're probably going to get more information after this battle, I guess. Because ultimately, we'd also have to somehow... I mean, at this point, 4 sectors are completely destroyed, and the 5th one has been under attack for so long that clearly most of the city is probably also already destroyed. Also, most of the population has been shifted over to the 2025 sector, so we'd also have to get them back if we wanted to continue living in this sector, for example. So, yeah, where is this going to go, right? What are we ultimately going to do with all of this? Where are these characters going to go? Can they even go anywhere, right? But anyways, let's get through this battle first, and let's see how difficult it is.
I'm in range.
Alright. Bunch of these are G-molars, okay. A couple more coming in here, and then we have these things. The only thing that I find a little bit weird is that for the longest time, all of the battles basically take exactly 2 minutes, or at least it's displayed as 2 minutes, right? But for some reason now, suddenly we don't get a timer anymore, even though we have a specific time frame that we're meant to survive.
Gotta think.
It's definitely a little bit weird. Alright, sentry gun first. I have to take out the twin tails.
Gotta keep it together.
God, I love the music. Music's so good. Like, it's the main theme, right? But in this really cool sort of version that, like, it is both a really good background music, but also feels like it's really building towards something. It's a really, really cool setup. Alright, I think Kisaragi should finish those off, to be honest.
So, what's my next move?
So at least that way, those will already been dealt with. Have already been dealt with.
They felt that.
And I guess... she doesn't have enough for her interceptors, which is... she has though. So let's set those up.
Let's see.
See if I can get Hijiyama over there. He could hit most of them with an EMP, right? Let's move him upwards slightly and hopefully hit them with an EMP before they do too much. I don't know if I want to necessarily set her too close to the G-molars. I could go with the gravity missile. At least that it... yeah, actually that might not be the worst idea. As that pulls all of those together.
Let's see. You're just small fry. A fine hit.
One of the rockets still started, or a couple of them still started. Why can they still shoot the rockets, actually? That's kind of strange. Holy shit. Okay, that's a lot of stuff coming in. I wonder if I should... or when, rather, I should use my... EMP. Well, honestly, the rockets maybe aren't even that much of a problem, right? She has the shield repair. I should probably remember that as well. Or maybe I could go with another gravity missile. I wonder if it also takes out the missiles in the air. It does. Or at least it pulls them towards it, I think. Oh, that's just slightly out of range. Rush attack should be better, though. Lisa did take out a couple of them. Whew, there's a lot going on. I need to get rid of the twin tails, though. Yeah, let's just do one phase plasma EMP just to sort of clear this up a little bit.
It's all pretty freaky. Okay, let's do this.
Are her interceptors still strong? I don't even know where they are. Holy fuck. Oh boy. Yeah, this is going to be rather interesting. I mean, I could just hit a couple of these guys, huh?
That's you say your prayers. Do this.
Probably wanna attack a couple of these G-molars first. I mean, sentry guns are hopefully going to be a really good thing in this fight, though.
I guess life comes at you fast.
Okay. See if I can do something to this RPF.
How's that?
Yeah, nice. Oh, that's a small one. I was gonna say, that's not a rocket. I mean, the interceptors are still doing work. Let's actually move her over here just a little bit.
I won't give up.
And that way it can hopefully take out most of these. That'll also get her some EP back.
My spirits up.
Anything that is still worth hitting with the, what is that thing firing? What is that rocket? Oh, those are the health rockets, I think, right? Oh yeah, this might be worth it, to be honest.
I'll beat you. As long as I can keep this thing moving.
Oh, there's so many things coming, and that's... More interceptors might not be the worst thing here. Problem is there's a lot of stuff with like anti-air, or not anti-air stuff, but rather with like missiles. Holy shit. I mean, the terminal can take some hits, so...
I deny you. Yes. Is that it?
Let's get him.
At least, hopefully. I don't even know where to fucking turn this, turn the missiles. With something, I could, let's maybe use her EMP, right? She also has that. There's so many damn rockets coming in, holy shit. I should probably try and get rid of this mine here, right? It should still hit it. At least it did take out a couple things. Yeah, I definitely need to keep their EMP in mind. I think that might be really, really beneficial in this case. Yeah, honestly, I don't even know what to hit.
What next?
can he? That's unfortunate. I can get over to these. Problem is that's really just, you know, a little bit. I don't exactly know what you're meant to do with all of the small missiles that are coming in. This is probably not doing that much, to be honest.
The last adjustments are going smoothly. Just hold out a little longer.
Did you see the missiles they're firing at me? I'm a little scared of those, to be honest.
There's still hope.
Well, I mean, I just need to survive, but the problem is they're gonna keep firing those missiles, right? Which is kind of the problem. It's really difficult to decide what might be the best thing to focus on here. Problem is also, now there's a bunch of stuff just sitting very far away on the outside that I'm not able to sort of do anything with. Should I go for these? What else do I have? Yeah, I could go with another gravity missile, to be honest. At least that it possibly, you know, make it harder for them to do anything here. Actually, it's probably more worth it to sort of take out the bigger threats here. The hell was that? Ooh, holy shit. Well, now he's under attack. Let's do another one of these. Are they not actually hitting the fucking, what are they called? The missiles with those? Maybe I should actually move my Sentinels out a little bit more. Holy shit, well, she should probably move. Wait, the leg spike moves me more quickly. Wait, where's the back of this thing? Well, oh, there. That's weird.
That impacted your driving system. Your output's dropping fast.
Less power, huh? Well, that just means it's a fair fight now.
I'll adjust the settings to get your output back up, but one more hit like that, and you're done.
Who has the shield repair stuff?
I guess these goons don't like me.
The amount of missiles that are coming in is still kind of crazy. Like, look at what's in the air. How are you supposed to defend against that? What? What was she hit by?
Enemy destroyed.
Is there a mine somewhere?
I can still fly.
I guess there must have been something on the ground to...
You need
what?
to fall back. What next?
Hmm.
What's the plan?
I honestly don't entirely know how they expect you to deal with all the missiles.
Okay, let's do this. Clean them up.
Let's turn this around.
Well, now everything's EMP'd anyways, right? Yeah. I mean, maybe... The problem is that I've basically really neglected the anti-air defenses so far, because I never really needed to use them. I mean, there's obviously, I could just switch it over, right? And possibly, like, still make it through this. I feel like, you know, just firing a bunch of you know, anti-air stuff constantly into the air might be something that you can do here. I don't know if it's worth it to set up a Guardian. Probably not really, right? She has the shield repair herself.
Initiating shield.
Practice round's over.
Can you even go anywhere? Kinda, huh?
No fight I can't win. Clean them up.
Yeah, there are already so many missiles coming in again. I've even used the main EMP thing like multiple times now, and I still can't really deal with all the missiles that are coming in. I really don't know the point is here. I mean, maybe it's supposed to be this? Yeah, because there are like 40 missiles going to the same spot.
Now initiating emergency pilot ejection. Processing is halfway done. You've all come so far. I know you can do this. I can do this.
Halfway done, huh?
They felt that.
Warning. Terminal corruption rate increased.
Can she even survive this? I mean, she
What now?
is gonna get hit by like 20 different things, right?
What next?
Where the hell is she anyways? Here, right?
Take this! Yes! Enemy down!
Big mistake, pal.
It just looks... I can't even see anything anymore.
As long as I can keep this thing moving.
I think I need to hit whatever's in the middle here. If I can. Oh, that just did nothing. Oh, it's shielded, that's why.
Saragi, you okay?
Yeah, I might need to adjust my tactics a little bit for this. Still don't really know how exactly I would do that, but... Because the point in this feels like it's not really taking out the, The point isn't really to take them out, it's more to defend in this case.
Warning, mainframe breached.
I probably have to move out my Sentinel pilots as well. Yeah, that's strange. It's definitely strange that they're suddenly expecting you to do completely different things, right? I also think that, for example, I mean, what is a pilot like Hijiyama supposed to be doing in this exact scenario? Spreads numerous flares in the air, obstructing aerial kaiju missiles. Yeah, so that is something that I probably want, right? Now, unfortunately, I was clever enough to spend my meta chips. Oopsie, I guess. I could... Actually, you know what? It might be worth it to go to like a previous level and just get more meta chips in order to be able to enhance the stuff that I might need more in this particular case. So, tackle I'm definitely not going to use. I can upgrade these a bunch. Anti-air defensive flares. I mean, they do last 20 seconds, so that might be worth it? I'm not too sure about the EMP, because I feel like the main EMP thing that you can do with the terminal seems to be way more... seems to be way better than... than their individual EMPs, and I don't really know why. So if he can do the anti-air stuff, that might be a good idea. Well, he's gonna put down sentry guns most of the time, I feel like. EMP stunner, anti-air bombardment, only missile. I don't really have any other anti-air stuff, though. Might want to keep her in and just constantly shield my my Sentinels, though I don't really know. Like, I probably don't have enough EP to constantly do that. It's actually quite difficult, right? I don't have that much stuff that really deals with... I could go with the shield matrix, I guess. But yeah, I don't really have that much stuff that would... that would really help with so much all at once. Like, I don't have attacks that actually hit that much. Let's try how good the anti-air defensive stuff is. I mean, but it's still begs the question of how... So I know that I only need to survive, and what mainly attacked the terminal right there was the missiles, right? If I can get rid of the missiles, that would already be a big help. But I don't know how easy or hard that is to do.
Hit confirmed. What can I do?
I might want to set up the sentry guns like further away. Because if they try to hit them, they're not gonna hit me, basically.
What next?
So that lasts 20 seconds. Why is that such a weird cone, though?
Anti-air defense.
Oh, that's how that works. Okay, so I basically need to move him over and then shoot it in the other direction?
Let's go, Sentinel.
It's weird.
Okay, let's do this.
Probably still want to set up these things though.
Think things through.
She has the shield repair. The gravity missile might not be the worst thing against the Twin Tails, to be honest, because that'll also attract like rockets, basically.
I'll show you. Was that okay?
Much obliged. I'll make it work. Anti-air defense.
I won't give up. I've got you now. Yes! I did it!
Problem is, I also need to generate EP, right? Don't know if it's worth it to set this up, to be honest. Might want to go with more interceptors for the time being.
What to do?
Let's see how good the anti-air stuff's actually going to be, because still not really convinced it's really going to do all that much against so many missiles. Because I'd imagine, like, if one missile hits, basically going to take out at least one anti-air thing,
Just watch!
right?
Hit him! Let's get him!
Gotta think.
So let's set up another sentry gun there.
Let's see.
Already out of EP. Yeah, that's kind of bad, right? I mean,
Unbelievable. I'm acting like an amateur.
let's maybe do this. Now I can shoot them in this direction too.
We will not lose.
Set up her interceptors as well.
Take this.
As long as I can keep this thing moving. Clean 'em up.
The more stuff I have that's doing things on their own without me having to engage with it, right, is probably the better. Thankfully I can replenish my EP a couple of times if need be. That might be the better option in this case, specifically.
Let's manage this. Let's do this. They felt that.
He's sitting in such a good position, right? I'd have to move back if I were to do anything else. I could... Wait, how long would it take to charge his EP again?
I need to think things through.
Not that long, hopefully, right? Setting up another gravity missile might also be a good idea. Question being, where exactly? Oh, well then again... Pulse lasers... Oh, there's like a drill fly that's really close. Yeah, let's try and take that thing out. Oh, it's shielded? I didn't...
Can't mess this up.
That's sometimes really, really hard to see whether things are shielded or not. Wait, where are my other 2 sentry guns? There's one. And there's one, right? Holy shit. Okay, let's put another one here.
What's the plan? Clean him up.
What to do?
Oh, the drum mine is gonna try and take out the, I think it's trying to take out the sentry gun there.
The last adjustments are going smoothly. Just hold out a little longer. We must survive.
And now a gravity missile might be a good idea. Although... maybe like here? It's really, really difficult to decide where the hell you actually want to go with your attacks. I think I can actually take out the drum mine though. Yeah. That'll hopefully, take out a bunch of stuff that's closer.
Gotta keep it together.
Could go with the railgun as well. Let's hit those, because that'll hopefully take out a couple of the twin tails that are still left over there, yeah. My sentry gun's still up? I think they actually took that one out, huh? Nice. Defensive flares in this direction again. Nice, that anti-air defense is doing work. Wait, are there things close that I can hit by doing this? That way, hopefully, I have more possibilities to... let's maybe do this.
This is all pretty freaky.
Let's actually maybe use the EMP in this case.
Is that okay? Gonna be okay. Definitely.
Is that drum mine exploding? Do I want to try and take that thing out? Can I? I mean, this will hit a bunch of them. It'll be Hijiyama's turn again, but I think I need to do the anti-air stuff again, so... I need to deal with that drum mine somehow. Maybe Yakushiji can do that?
Let's see. Anti-air defense!
We must win. I've got it now. Got it.
Yeah, did take out the drum mine up close.
What now? Got him! The practice round's over.
Alright, I think I just have to recover EP now. Even though unfortunately it's not really doing that much. Wait, that wasn't even enough? Are you kidding me? Well, that's unfortunate. Guess that means I can, or have to take out this thing?
Still not used to this thing. Come on!
The drum mines up close are actually a big problem.
Pick the fight with the wrong
I guess these
girl.
guys don't like me.
Hold up! Get it! Going for me, huh?
Survive.
Enemy threat range.
A gravity missile up close might actually be not the worst idea, right?
Processing is halfway done.
Halfway! Fucking hell! How can I keep this up? Because the problem is I'm gonna run out of the frickin' anti-air stuff. Which is also a bit unfortunate in my opinion, that suddenly you're basically forced to use that in like a major way. Without the game ever sort of properly hinting at that it's ever going to be a thing that you'd have to do.
Unbelievable. I'm acting like an amateur. Anti-air defense!
No fight I can't win.
Threat range.
Hit the stuff up close.
That do it? That ought to be good. Sitting
I
tight
have
here.
my focus. Enemy threat range.
I could also put up a Guardian. I think the sentry guns are actually more worth it.
Get down!
There's still hope. I've got you now. I ain't gonna be okay. Definitely.
That is crazy how much stuff there is now. Definitely need to hit closer, right? Otherwise all these things are gonna come in and... I mean, they're coming in already anyways, right? Like, what?
What to do?
I still have 2 uses, so let's
Let's go, Natsuno.
EMP everything once at least. Not that it's actually going to help much, but...
Ready for this? Okay.
Work.
Is there anything up close that I might be able to hit?
Take this! A fight! Humanity stands proud.
As long as I can keep this thing moving. Clean him up. Going for me,
You know
huh?
how you do this.
Enemy threat range.
I might have to kill whatever's doing the... Oh yeah, that's that thing, right?
Is that okay? Score!
Yeah, that didn't actually do that much. Well, that's unfortunate. That's not gonna work.
Let's see.
That still wasn't enough.
Enemy threat range.
Can I do this maybe? Well, at least I took out the thing that was attacking.
Still not used to this thing. No way through this.
Oh, thanks.
I'll make it work.
I'm being targeted.
Enemy threat range.
Something's hitting over here. I probably don't want to move into that.
Senseless.
This is all pretty freaky.
This is gonna hit a bunch of missiles from that direction.
I need to think things through. I've got you now. Yes! No! Is that okay?
Yeah. The problem is kind of that I'm running out of anti-air stuff.
The terminal's
Warning. Terminal corruption rate increased.
get me.
You're just a machine.
Enemy threat range.
Yeah, I don't think that I can actually
I guess life comes at you fast.
deal with everything here. He's also kind of too far away now for the...
How's that? Enemy down.
What to do?
I don't know if another EMP is gonna do anything, to be honest.
Hold up!
Right, it might.
How's that? Skill hole.
Enemy threat range.
Let's do this. One down.
Life support final processing at 75%.
We're in the final stretch. Please don't give up. Protect us.
Yeah, well, the problem is that the terminal is kind of shitting the bed right now, and I don't really have anything against it. Holy fuck! Also, I don't have any terminal users left, so... Just try and hit a bunch of stuff up close.
Let's turn this around.
Another EMP.
They felt that.
Unbelievable. I'm acting like an amateur.
Alright. Anti-air stuff that way. Hopefully it helps.
I need to think things through.
I might actually want to shield repair Kisaragi at this point. Where the hell is she? Yeah.
Initiating shield. Oh, thanks. Gotta keep it together.
Within enemy threat range.
Another EMP.
Hit.
I just need to survive somehow.
Not used to this thing. No way through this.
Much obliged. How's that? I'll make it work.
The problem is I can't replenish my frickin'... Are there missiles from this direction? Kinda. Or more this way, though. That's not gonna take out the missiles, though, right? I think. Somehow need to take that stuff out. At least I still have the anti-air stuff here.
You're just small fry. Try again.
So, what's my next move? I'll handle this.
The good thing is the EMPs do hit the missiles out of the air. Even though they're constantly bringing those up again. How does he not have... Fucking hell. Ugh. Can I go somewhere where I can hit stuff? Shit. Yeah, I only have that.
Let's see.
Let's do this.
What can I do?
Oh, there are a bunch of missiles from that. I still have the anti-air stuff set up here. There are a couple missiles coming that way, a couple missiles coming that way. Let's deal with those because they're also aggroed onto Ijama. Can't hit the missiles yet. Oh, there was a missile coming in from there. Just, I don't know, hit as much as possible, I guess, at this point.
Did I? Enemy destroyed.
Emergency escape preparations complete. Universal control suspended.
Did I do it?
Interloster. Link disconnected.
Look at all those missiles coming in! Holy shit! Did you see that to the right? There are like 8 or 10 missiles that are really, really close to the terminal. Holy shit. Oh boy, that was something. Wait, are you fucking kidding me? They blocked this scene from broadcasting? Oh, these fucking idiots. So now we're in space. I'm just gonna describe what's happening. So everybody's stuck in their cockpits. Tamausan is alright. Okay, so they're not in Sentinel cockpits. So that is actually true then. We're not in Sentinel cockpits, but rather in life pods the entire time? Oh, that's really annoying. Fucking Atlas, you idiots. I didn't read anything about this. So it was all just a simulation? And also you can't even hear the really cool music now. Okay, so we are basically in like an orbital satellite within. So the whole game is really just taking place in their heads? But what is this whole project? So Izumi was the one who actually found out, but that everything's just uh. So the whole game. Wait, so the whole game is actually supposed to be that they're sitting inside of their pods and their bodies are being prepared for being able to live outside of the pods. So wait, what? So the entire game basically that we've been fighting is just, and as I suspected, everybody else, like all the other lives, are basically just simulated. But okay, that does bring up the question though, why would they need to have some sort of weird kaiju game need to happen in order for their bodies to be prepared to live outside of their pods? So Shinonome tried to sabotage everything. So the Daimos were not part of the original plan? Okay, so we actually are on another planet, though. 1,200 light years away from Earth. Okay, so we are actually Project Arc, and we are actually looking for another planet, and the whole game was basically one big setup to get these couple of people ready to live on this new planet. That is definitely a crazy ending. So I guess they've also been. Oh, we get more footage from Project Arc was a success, says Morimura. So they did actually terraform that planet as well before their. It's actually a really cool setup. So the project arc was set up in a way that allows them to send the probes as far as they have to go in order for humanity to survive. So the whole project is actually set up properly as them. That's I guess in a weird way it does make sense that they would set up. Oh, now we get a message from Tamara Kurabe as well. Man, it really fucking Atlas and their dumb restrictions on streaming. I swear to God, fucking idiots. Okay, so cool. So Tamara Kurabe's so the whole simulation that they've been going through was also that they basically learn about human culture and everything throughout different eras, and therefore be able to take the culture and everything with them and their understanding and knowledge of humanity. So now we're actually exiting onto the new planet. We finally see the pods where they. That is so crazy to think about. They're literally in one room with everybody. That is so crazy that we've just been in like one room. Oh, the scene is actually like. I think that's how they set it up, basically. I mean, they also carry their, I guess, sort of some of their genetics from the people that they've been that their DNA is based upon. But I mean, that's kind of clever to set them up as well pairs, right? Already basically being in a relationship, because that means that you know they can create new humans. Oh, this looks fucking beautiful. What a great ending to the game. That Atlas, for some reason, decided wasn't going to be shown to people. Also, the music was really, really great towards the end. Are they kidding me? Even the fucking credits are blocked scene? Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Usually I like watching credits, but that's just dumb. Wait, can I even skip them? Are you kidding me? Can you not skip the damn credits? Guess not. Well, I can just talk about the stuff. It's a little bit unfortunate that it's without the music and without the credits and everything. That's actually putting a little bit of a dampener on this whole game, which is kind of unfortunate, right? I mean, why and how would you make such a dumb decision as a publisher? Um, I'll never understand that. That's actually a pretty big reason why I haven't played Strikers yet. I don't really like, I'm doing this for fun, right? I'm only streaming for fun, but it was a big part of, for a long time, I actually kind of, oh, we get, probably because there are other scenes. So Ida still lives. So the reset did actually happen. So what is Ida's? So Ida still exists within the simulation? So what are they doing? Are they resetting the simulation to find another planet? Is that the reason why the simulation has been reset so many times? Because they've actually, like, every time a reset happened, a new planet has been colonized, basically. Oh, we get the music again. So everything has been reset. So, that's cool. So they are now inside of the simulation again and using the simulation itself to recreate the other humans whose information they have through the pods they also have. She won the bat? So they're. Holy shit, okay. So we're getting sort of goodbye scenes with everybody, basically. Miyako has no idea why the others are so glad to see her. That is so weird though, right? That they now basically know what their real selves outside are doing, but they're still also inside of the simulation. Scenes are really sweet though with the characters. It's definitely good that we got a happy end. Like, the game is actually tackling, well, I wouldn't necessarily say difficult issues. It's not really doing that, but it's definitely kind of a, like, for the longest time while you're going through the game, it is this feeling of, well, is this going to be the right? There seem to be so many fucked up things going on, right? Characters manipulating each other, manipulating the project, stuff like that. So you could never be quite sure whether or not what was going to happen in the end was actually a good thing, right? There was definitely a big possibility for the game basically ending in, oh yeah, humans destroyed themselves and nobody lives anymore, right? So the fact that we're getting a really, really cool happy end is pretty cool. So the whole thing with Izumi and everything, was it still, I mean, he basically recognized that the project was somehow being manipulated by whatever Shinonome did, and he said, well, no, that's not going to happen, and he set everything up in a way that it's still crazy for me to think that the whole everything with the kaiju, like, think about how long I speculated about certain parts of the story, right? How long I speculated what could they be. Did they come here at some point? And like, for the longest time, there were so many possibilities that are going on, and the end result is just that, it's all been testing, and it's been an actual game, basically, right? That is, Fluffy's back. These scenes are handled really well, by the way. It's really unfortunate that you can't see them, but I guess most people will. I mean, it's easy enough to like look at on YouTube or something. All the characters are meeting back up. Yeah, I'm not quite sure if we're going to recreate Wajima and his weird gang of cronies. Ninji and Wajima actually becoming friends there in the end. Kitaro and Natsuno also. BJ is back as well. BJ's now. It's still so weird to think that Yuki is actually Natsuno's mother. So Amikuchi and Yuki are actually together. So Amiguchi and Yuki actually have a daughter already? Man, these characters have also been really, really great. Now that you know that everything's sort of going to be fine with them, it's really, really cool that, you know, everything is going to be fine. Okino's still in the dress. Yeah, so now we get to Mao and her android in the same scene. She's an old. Mm. Aw, Hijiyama and Okino are actually together now. You know, I think I now get the point of the loops, right? So they basically reset the simulation every time they failed. And they knew that the one time the simulation was going to succeed, or whether gonna successfully you know, defend everybody, that's when they were ready to get out of their pods, basically. When they finally understood. Now we get the last scene with Izumi and Morimura. It's also kind of crazy to me how the characters are actually, like, their older selves are still distinctly different characters, which is such a cool setup. Like, they have other desires, other relationships, other goals, right? And it works so well, yet they're still somehow rooted in the same character, right? The end. That was so well handled in the end. Holy fuck. Like, it actually brings them. I was kind of worried there for a while. I know that ending entry has been added to the event archives. Additional characters can now be viewed in the event archives. Oh, nice. So now we can finally view all the characters, I guess. Can now restart each protagonist's story from the beginning at the protagonist selection screen. Oh, that's also cool. So you can go back through it if you want. And there is a fourth area of destruction. That's cool. So you can just continue the game if you want. Ah, that's awesome. Hey. Right, nice. So we're actually almost at 100% analysis, which is funny. So they just basically unlock everything. Yeah, I apologize for that. I didn't know that the ending of the game was actually a blocked scene. I know that's a thing in Persona 5 Royal and in Strikers as well, that they block certain scenes, which is really, really dumb. I didn't know that was a thing here as well. It was only at the end, so yeah. I still have to say though, I was kind of worried, right? I was worried about, there were so many things going on that I just wasn't sure how it would have been possible to sort of bring it all back together, right? How it would be possible to really sort of tie up all the loose story threads and everything. And what I find so cool as well is that the answer was, like, we already knew the answer. We already knew what was happening, but there were so many different possibilities of what might have been happening that it wasn't quite clear. Like, for the longest time, we saw that scene, right? Where basically we were explained, or it was explained to us that, yeah, we are actually only living in these pods, right? They're not Sentinels at all. They're just these life pods and everything simulated. And for the longest time, I wasn't really sure if that's what was happening, or if that was just a rouse or some sort of setup from a character that didn't know better, or something like that, right? That's crazy to think about, that that's essentially how it all connected back together, right? That's really, really crazy. Oh, and the wrap-up was really, really good too. All the scenes, right? We saw all the characters again. And now we know that they're actually living on a new Earth. But yeah, so I suspect that the whole loops and everything, it was basically just they wanted to make sure that these people that have basically been growing inside of the pods were actually ready to go out and, be the new seed, the new foundation for a new humanity on a different Earth. And, well, yeah, apparently they were ready now, right? The whole thing, so I expect everything with the kaiju and stuff, everything was still rooted in reality, right? There definitely was an interstellar development project in 2188, but ultimately they decided, yeah, Project Arc needed to happen. And they just used what they had from the real world in order to create this artificially simulated world, right? Whew. This was quite something, and an ending that I didn't expect to be this way, to be honest. And now I guess we have all the scenes together here. It also shows the different sectors, obviously. What's so interesting to me now is that it's actually not, like, there isn't that much more that we can do here and go through over, because, well, now we know the ending, right? Fueled by humanity's boundless drive for survival, the probes repeat the cycle of self-replication, creating infinite possibilities across the vast expanse of space. Yeah, that's another thing, right? So, as I am understanding it, this is one outcome of humanity, right? But there could be other probes somewhere else that have also been which is such a beautiful thing to think about, right? Because I think that maybe at one point we are actually going to do that, which is also kind of funny now that I'm thinking about it, because what if that's actually where we come from? That's maybe a little bit of a stretch, given everything we know about the universe, but that could also be in our future, right? One thing that I personally think is, like, the biggest, like, the thing that is sort of, how do I put it, the fact that we are so limited, right, mainly by the speed of light, or the speed of information, if you will, because that truly limits what we could achieve, right? Even if we were able to travel at light speed through the universe, we still wouldn't really be able to set up any sort of interplanetary or intergalactic, not even that, but inter-solar system species, right? Because it is still, like, even if, which is already crazy to think about, even if we would be capable of traveling at light speed, or even if we would be capable of some sort of teleporting technology where we'd be able to take the information in one place, then send it out through light speed, through photons or what have you, right? Some sort of particles to another place and then reconstruct the same person or the same thing in that other place. It'd still take a light year or a year, right, to cross the distance of a light year. And a light year is not that much of a distance at all, right? Which is so sad to think about, that even if we had the capability to travel at light speed, we still really wouldn't be able to do anything with that, because we only live for like 100 years. Even if theoretically future humans could live, let's say, 1,000 years, that still would only be enough to travel to maybe 6-7 different solar systems. I mean, maybe a bit more, but you'd also be traveling the entire time, right? And you'd still have to travel. Like, imagine, even if you could live 1,000 years, right? 1,000 years instead of 100 or whatever. Traveling a whole year to get to the closest star to our solar system is still, or is it 4 years? I don't know. It's like a year or something, right? That is still something that is just like not really feasible. I mean, what are you supposed to do in that time frame? And even if you were to travel there, think about it, right? It'd take 2 years to communicate with everybody that you would know back here on Earth, right? So if, let's say, you found a job in the nearest solar system and you wanted to talk to, I don't know, your family, it'd take 2 years for that information to go back to Earth and for them to then reply to you, right? So we'd have to find some way of communicating over distance that is faster than the speed of light, and we don't know if that would ever be possible, right? But coming back to the game, what I think would be really, really awesome, at least in sort of a theory or in terms of thinking about it, what if at some point humanity would basically do what we've been shown here in the game, right? So we would create probes with the human DNA in it, or with some sort of setup, right? Basically big satellites, or maybe not even that big, but some sort of self-replicating technology, right? That would generate clones and terraform planets to a degree where humanity would continue living on those other planets. And we would just send thousands of these probes out into the universe, right? And they'd be set up in a way where they can essentially live forever. The probes, that is, right? So they just travel through the universe, and however long it takes, they'd set up a different kind of humanity on another planet that might be thousands, tens of thousands, millions of light years away, right? And we'd obviously never know about them, but the knowledge that we might one day be capable of doing that, and of essentially populating the universe with intelligent life, is actually kind of poetic to think about, right? I mean, obviously, you know, a couple of those human enclaves might destroy themselves, right? They might not be capable of surviving. I mean, we ourselves are already sort of, you know, doing stuff that threatens our survival on Earth. But still, I mean, even if only a fraction of those probes would actually produce a copy of the human race that would survive, that'd still be potentially thousands of planets that are being colonized by us. and it's such a, like, poetically, beautifully melancholic way of them not really knowing about us, we not really knowing about them. We'd only know that these colonies exist, and they might only know where they come from, you know, if we bring some information with us on those journeys, basically. But we'd never be able to communicate with each other because of the distance, right? And because of when they get established, like 5,000, 10,000 years from now, we might already be dead or something, right? That is it's a crazy prospect, but one that I'd actually welcome, I think. That would be really, really fun to think about. And to that point, funnily enough, at least in theory, I guess, we here on Earth could also be just that, right? I mean, what if... so we know that the universe is about 15 billion years old, right? But we also don't have the entire picture because we don't see across the basically the event horizon of the universe, right? Or the point where the light's already traveled further than what the speed of light can carry back to us. But still, our solar system has been established, like, what, 5 billion years ago, and the first life forms were 2.5 billion years ago, something, right? What if, in theory, that was also a probe from the actual, quote-unquote, human race somewhere in the universe, and it just so happened to land here on Earth and spark life, right? I mean, what if that's the way the universe is populated? I mean, that probably still wouldn't explain the radio silence, right? Because we as humans are creating radio waves that are being shot out to the universe. But then again, maybe that's also just a random chance of... I mean, all of these different... Even if something like that existed, the probes might have still, you know, not worked, or they're not in the stage where they produced intelligent life yet. I don't know. But then again, given our history, it's kind of unlikely, because you'd probably, at least, you know, if we would do it, I'd imagine we'd bring actual human DNA along so that we can continue evolving rather than having to re-evolve, right? Instead of just sparking sort of the spark of life and then letting life do whatever it wants, I think it'd be more interesting to actually send over human DNA and continue evolving from the point that we've already reached, rather than just re-establishing life and a new cycle of life. So these are the ending scenes. For some dumb reason, obviously, this is not blocked, so I can show you the scenes that have happened, but the scenes themselves are blocked. I don't... Can I actually click on these? Recall certainty. Yes. Okay. It's still blocked, though. That's fun, though. So you can basically go in and watch these scenes again, right? So watching these scenes, the ending scenes, they're all blocked for some dumb reason, but yeah, you can still look at the what they are. It's also kind of crazy. There are 315 scenes in this game. That's pretty crazy. So this is all the characters basically entering the simulation again, but this time with the knowledge of their actual selves and what happened. Tetsuya Ida restores connection to Sector 4 and speaks with Miyuki Inaba. So ship nears the end of communication range. He requests that she sing for him once more. Outside the pod, dawn. Juro Kurabe and Meikomi Yakushiji, awakening from their pods, take their first steps into new worlds and continue the legacy of humankind. That was quite the beautiful scene. Like the the artwork they had for that, which is something like the way this game is done, the artwork, and just how it looks in general, how they've combined sort of 3D and 2D elements in their scenes and how well they look alongside each other is really, really, really good. Like, this game has so many cool things in it. And this was the message from Tamao Kurabe and Chihiro Morimura, basically to the new humans, right? Explaining what they have to do. And we're now on planet RS-13 Alpha. After the final battle, the pilots awaken to the real world. Their long journey through a simulated reality has served to prepare them for a new life on a second Earth, somewhere in the direction of Virgo. That's the constellation they're in. Miyuki Inaba praises the miracle of their survival and bids them farewell. Such a cool game. So all of this, right, all of the different scenes, all of everything that has been happening was all just so that we were able to live on this new Earth. Together with a lot of stuff, right, where people have tried to manipulate the project and put certain things into the project that potentially made it so that it wouldn't work, right? And now you can actually access all of the scenes with the other characters as well, right? Which is really cool. It's really a good way of letting you sort of, you know, really, really understand what's been going on. So now we actually see the people from one loop ago. So basically the breakthrough came when they were able to somehow keep their memories over the loops, right? That was how they ultimately were able to survive, right? Which is funny because at first I thought, well, technically this shouldn't count, right? Because wouldn't that mean that they survived not on their own, but with the help of, well, quote-unquote cheating the system, right? But then again, you know, I came to the, like, this is basically them succeeding, right? Their knowledge and everything has gotten so good, like, them as humans, right? Not the individual characters, but them as humans saw through what was happening and were capable of, well, bending the system to their own will, which ultimately meant that they were ready to survive on this new planet, right? Which is a really, really cool setup. And again, just crazy to think about that everything was just simulated. It works very well in hindsight, and, you know, with everything that we've seen, all the characters and all the, all these people. And as I said, it's also really, really crazy just how many different characters exist within this game. Because, yeah, sure, you have the main 13 characters, basically, whose story you actually, quote-unquote, play through. But then you have their older versions, and as I said, they're distinctly different characters, right? They have different desires, different, you know, love interests, different relationships, but also serve entirely different purposes within the story, right? Man, I really need to watch more playthroughs from other people. Right, let's take a look at the... Did we get a couple of updates here? Tetsuya Ida 2188, I haven't read through. During a bug regression test, the 2188 Tetsuya Ida noticed that a part of the final phase had been altered, so he reported this discovery to Renya Goto. The change was made in Chihiro Morimura's host to trigger a memory override. Though the memory's contents remain unknown, it's clear that Jiro Izumi was the one who made the change. Tsukasa Okino 2 loops ago. Survives the war. Along with his friends Jiro, Izumi, and Morimura, he goes down the giant tunnel that the Kaiju created and discovers universal control, how to shift between different sectors, and the countdown to the destruction of their world. Although he was able to send Izumi and Morimura to the next loop by shifting them to Sector 0, he himself disappeared along with their world. That is so crazy, right? That's the initial setup of the older versions of Juro and Iori, but you don't realize that when they show you the scene. Like, this scene actually happens fairly early on during the story, relatively early on. And you don't understand a single thing. Like, for the longest time, I didn't even understand, wait, what was this countdown supposed to be, right? But it's a countdown, like, for the reset. And so that's basically what happened. So is this memory override that got triggered in Morimura? Is that somehow the way that they, like, Izumi realized that in order for humanity to actually have a chance of survival, he somehow needed something so that the reset would be altered at some point? Tamao Kurabi 2188. Since humanity lacked the technology to sustain life across multiple light years travel at the time, Tamao Kurabi's plan for Project Ark was to transport only the genetic information over to the New World, where cloning and species restoration efforts would occur. However, since she believed that humanity is defined by the inheritance and evolution of our culture and knowledge, she also came up with the growth pods to teach the necessary information in a virtual world over the course of 20 years. Yeah, that is such a clever setup, right? So the whole thing was set up in a way where... Because I actually, funnily enough, I talked about that so many times and I didn't really understand what it meant in the grand scheme of the story. Well, now obviously I do, but that's the thing with cloning, right? Clones, even if they're obviously artificial, right, and they grow in a pot like this, for example, they still need to grow. They're still actual humans that need to go through their proper life cycle, right? And you can potentially alter DNA, but if you want to keep it as close to real humans as possible, the clone would need to live a normal human lifespan, right? Which would mean that it would take 18 years for them to be adult, basically. So coming up with this whole system of them basically living their child life and their teenage years inside a simulation that teaches them about what humanity was before, Project Ark started, and that also through multiple different periods of time. I guess the original prospect might have been that the different characters would then, as soon as they exit their pods, come from different eras and could teach each other sort of the values of their respective eras, but obviously through uncovering the entire system, they were capable of all shifting through all the different timelines, but still, that was the idea behind it, right? Which is also interesting because the simulation only went to 2104, basically, right? Or 2105. Which is definitely interesting because, well, that was kind of the whole deal from the beginning, right? That the original Morimura, when she started the project, I guess she kind of wanted to exclude the darker chapters of humanity that came after, right? Which ultimately, I guess, she was successful with, right? Because there was always this question that came up again, where I kind of asked about, well, does she want to get rid of the nanomachines, but we still have the nanomachines, but it wasn't necessarily the technology she wanted to get rid of, but rather maybe its misuse over the years, right, leading up to 2188 and the problems that occurred there. Oh, hi. Yeah, she does look like an older... Well, it makes sense, right? She would create her own younger version as herself. And... It's actually still kind of funny thinking about it that... I guess she didn't really expect her android to be taken over. Wait, did she even plan for her android to be there, or... It's another thing entirely, right? If they were also all just simulated, kind of funny how that jumped. I guess it was. So would Universal Control not have been aware of the Izumi AI jumping through different androids and stuff? That might be a thing, right? Yeah, I just got through the last scene and kind of want to go through all the information that I unlocked doing that. Just really, really cool how to see it all coming together and realizing what the different characters were up to and why. Let's see, do we actually get more information about that? The AI of Tamao Kurabi, born one loop ago. Yeah, the body is the Tamao android. Prior to 426 taking control of it, when the Tomi Kisaragi android chased Natsuno Minami into the girl's bathroom, Tamao fought and destroyed the Kisaragi. Well, that's just the information about the scene, though, right? As Juro Izumi would have become a husk due to the battle in 2025, she changed his personality into the calm and obedient Juro Kurabe. She took pity on Megumi Yakushiji, who loved the prior Izumi, so she allowed Yakushiji to live with Kurabe and look after him. It's actually funny to think about. I wonder if her original self would have wanted it that way, but... True, yeah. That's absolutely right. Izumi is definitely... I mean, especially in that ending scene that he just shifts through the different characters he created, like Shiba and also Fluffy. Fluffy isn't like a special thing all in and of himself. 1985. And Tamao Kurabi from one loop ago arrived in 1985. The AI, originally from 1985, was erased by Universal Control, since they are the same person. To eliminate any discrepancies, the erased Tamao was established to be visiting relatives in Shimane. Whoa! Okay, there's... Oh no, never mind. That's not the new stuff. I thought everything was new. Though Chihiro was born on March 2nd, 2100, her actual identity is Professor Chihiro Morimura, 2188, therefore she has no recollection about 2 loops ago or the time before Chihiro was born in the current loop, as those memories belong to the Morimura from 2 loops ago. These descriptions actually make it seem more complicated than it actually is at the end. She also has the memories from 2188, which include knowledge about Project Arc and the simulated space, her feelings towards Juro Izumi, and her maternal instincts towards Tsukasa Okino. Which is still definitely kind of strange that she has all that knowledge while also being in the body of a 7-year-old or 6-year-old. But I guess it works out in the end. The grown-up version of Chihiro Morimura from 2 loops ago, when the world was reset, the Morimura that was saved in Sector 0 continued into the new world as a simulated personality. It's also kind of cool that we that we got confirmation on them trying to turn the AI humans that are saved in Sector 0 into actual humans. So I guess at one point we can imagine there will be an actual Miyako walking around on the new Earth. Oh, I mean, it's definitely complicated, but them trying to squish all of this sort of information about the different loops and the different sectors and everything into these kind of small paragraphs here, it's definitely a bit complicated to read through, I guess. And with this ending scene as well, I was gonna say, are they even gonna, like, would they want to recreate Wachima and his gang? But I guess with how happy Nenji was in the end seeing him again, they're gonna do it. Juro Izumi 2 loops ago. Yeah, that's definitely one of the craziest things, how well they managed throughout the different scenes to never quite give away what is actually happening. So even if you already suspect what's happening, they always leave either a lot of possibilities open so that you can never be quite sure if what you're speculating about is actually true, but they also, because the characters are obviously the same and they're through the different loops at the same age, originally starting out, you kind of think, oh, well, even at the point where you still think there's also time travel involved, you view these other characters as older versions of themselves, and you don't realize that you also see scenes from the younger versions of the older characters. It's such a beautiful setup, and they hide it so well. Yeah, I definitely agree with the game's never misleading you. Like, it's giving you, especially now knowing what has happened, I find it really, really crazy how much they actually tell you. Like, if I'm trying to sort of in my mind go back through all the different scenes, like with this one, for example, where you see Yori, Okino, and Juro, and you think, oh, well, these are the characters that I've known, right? They're the same characters, they're the same age, but they're actually not. They're just showing you a scene from the older characters, but, you know, when they were still young. And you can, I guess you would be able to pick up on certain signals, or you would be able to pick up on the fact that maybe this happened in, like, a different time, or whatever, but with everything going on, that's quite difficult to do. You know, as you said, the game is definitely complicated in that regard, but it's also, it's giving you more than enough hints to figure out what's happening, but there are so many different possibilities of what might have happened that it's also, like, even if you hit the right, I think, sort of, in terms of the speculation that I had about the playthrough, or during the playthrough at certain points in time, I definitely was correct on a couple of things, but even though I was, I didn't know that I was, because there are still so many possibilities left open. The spinning clock thing between the sectors, once you know that it's not actually time travel, I was actually thinking about that, if that's like a, but I don't think that's really an issue either, because I mean, the fact that it's not time travel, I thought was made very, very clear, sort of at the, I guess you could say at the start of, like, the third act of the game, and so like, that was one of the few things that I was really sure of, because the game tells you so many times that it's not, and so I don't think that it's a big issue that it's there in the beginning. I mean, that's also a cool thing, that the game definitely, like, it knows when it should make things very clear, but it also knows when it should make things very complicated. So, because that's definitely a very, very cool twist, that you think, oh, yeah, of course, it's time travel, and then it gets established, oh no, it's not time travel. But that also completely throws you off, because then suddenly you think, oh, okay, now we have 5 sectors, and this is what's been happening, but no, it's actually not. It's still all a simulation, so, yeah, I think it works quite well. It's not a big problem at all. So many games with twists treat the player as an... Oh, that's actually a beautiful way of putting it. Yeah. Honestly, that's a really, really cool way of looking at it. I never quite thought about it that way, but that's actually really true. I think that's also... I never viewed it that way. That's probably a big reason why so many people now don't really enjoy, especially what they're doing with, like, newer movies and stuff, because they, like, in a lot of new blockbuster movies, they put in twists that are just twists for the sake of being story twists, right? They don't have any actual justification in the story that is playing out. Their only purpose is to make the movie exciting, right? Or the game exciting, or make you think, whoa, I didn't expect this. This is, like, really surprising and really, really good. And no, it's actually not. I think a lot of people do feel like, even if you can't really put your finger on it or don't explain it this well, like you just did, that's it really, right? That's the issue, that if the twist only exists purely to surprise the audience, then it's not really a proper twist at all, because it's not the story that is suddenly doing an unexpected turn, but rather just the creators of the story wanting a weird surprise in it. And that's not at all what this game is doing, right? This game really is, it's putting all the information out there, but it's just doing so in a very kind of convoluted, but also really, really cool way. So if you kind of really look at it, the game isn't even, like, there isn't even really a twist anywhere in the story. It's just that the way the story is presented makes you sort of try and twist your head around it, right? Maybe that's a kind of a weird way of putting it, but yeah, it's a completely different sort of setup. You're stupid for believing the exact things that we told you. Yeah, the sectors are what I think what also tipped me off initially. Not really that it wasn't time travel, but I definitely thought that it was an odd way of referencing that. I think originally I thought that it was... Wait, what did I actually think? I think the first time I kind of felt something was off with, like, the time frames and them also talking about sectors. But at that point, I think I still thought that time travel was a thing, but, like, within the different eras, there were still sort of sectors that did different things. I don't know, it's so cool to think back on that and really think about, well, yeah, sure, they show you that information, but they also do it in a way that just doesn't really tell you what's actually going on. And there are so many possibilities that it's very hard to see through, but ultimately it all makes sense. Right, and those little details like the wooden pillar, yeah. And it's still kind of cool because even, like, obviously every player will have different points where they realize, and there are also, it's not just the time travel, right? There's so much else that is going on with the characters and with like different sort of connections between them and when they figure certain things out and what, for example, what universal control even is, or all of these different things. And it's also done very beautifully in a way where if you don't see it right away, like for people who might speculate in a different way, right, sometimes you can also kind of be stuck in a certain line of thinking. And even that is very well facilitated by the game. It's sort of the game lets you do that, right? It lets you actually, if you have a certain way, or if you speculated about a certain thing being a certain way, the game actually lets you walk that path for a long time before telling you, wait, that's not actually what it is. Like, there are so many different hints and bits and pieces that it could still be that, right? At some points, even when the characters were outright telling me what was happening, I was still like, is that really what's happening? Or is it just the characters thinking that that's what's happening, right? And then you start sort of thinking, well, if it is that, okay, then this is that, and this is that, and this is how that piece of information connects back to it. But what if the character is wrong about that? And then you go down a different line of thinking, and it works just as well, right? Even though that's not correct or not the truth. And everything sort of falls into place, but then one thing obviously is the right truth, so to say. And it's really crazy. And going through these different like mystery files and everything, you really realize how well the whole setup is. And that, how different players discover everything, is also something I definitely want to... I mean, I said that during the playthrough a couple of times, I think, but I'm actually really looking forward to go through, I don't know, YouTube or Twitch and just look at different playthroughs of players and see how they do things, because, yeah, there is... I was thinking that while playing through it, technically there is a lot of freedom in how you do certain things, and sometimes the game cuts you off at certain points, and I was thinking, wait, but what if I had like done that character first, and then this story would have continued way further, but I was cut off here because I didn't do that or this, or... That's actually... This must have been crazy to set up as well, because it... At least it feels like, obviously after one playthrough I can't be sure about that, but it feels like they really, really did a lot of thinking about, well, what certain bits and pieces of information do we reveal in certain scenes, and when can the player actually access certain scenes, and when will he be cut off from it and has to do something else instead. And then setting all of that up to still work in the end, and not to reveal anything too soon, yet also not push it out too far where certain revelations come in way too late. It's just so well crafted. It really makes you appreciate how well they did it, but also, in a weird way, shows how poorly, unfortunately, most games' stories are set up, right? Like, this feels like people sat together in a writing room for possibly 2 or 3 years, right? And constantly went back over it and constantly thought to themselves, okay, so if we place this scene here, then this is what the player will know. But if we push it to here, then this is what they'll know. And then it really feels like somebody properly went over this multiple times and really, really thought about the kinds of information that they were able to look at. Whereas in most other games nowadays, unfortunately, it feels like they set somebody in a room for like 2 days. They just sort of wrote like a basic outline of the story, and then maybe one other person kind of went through it and corrected some spelling mistakes, and that's it. And they just run with it, right? And it really falls flat in most cases. And then they put like a beautiful world around it. This game actually, as good as the art style is, and the artists that were part of this game are absolutely incredible. But in terms of like from a technical level, it definitely doesn't do much. Yet it still works so beautifully because they know exactly when to utilize certain effects. They knew exactly how to set up certain scenes. And it's just crazy to think that because the whole setup, the whole story is so much better, it instantly creates a vastly superior. This game is light years ahead of most other AAA games in terms of storytelling. And that's just, in a weird way, really sad to see how poorly story is actually treated by most AAA games that have beautiful graphics but nothing, absolutely nothing behind it. Yeah, also with the plotting being this crazy and other games being like that's in a way very beautiful, but also a very but kind of a sad thing. You can't actually do another game like this, right? I mean, that's sometimes this game can't really have a 13 Sentinels 2, right? Because you'd instantly know its base structure, basically, right? So they'd have to come up with an entirely different way of structuring everything, which ultimately means that it'd be a completely different game at that point, and you might as well just go a completely different route and don't connect it to this game at all, right? I think that makes way more sense. And it's also, I don't think that you can't even really copy this game, right? Somebody else were to set out and say, I'm going to write a completely different story, but with a similar sort of setup. Don't know if it would work that well, honestly. Danganronpa is actually a game that I haven't played yet. I've seen, well, sort of watched, I guess, a playthrough a little bit on the side. Like, I've seen multiple streamers go through it, but it's never quite interested me in this way. Like, Danganronpa is... I definitely get why a lot of people like it, and I think it's a cool setup, but from what I've seen is also just... It's not nearly as clever as this game. Like, not even close. Right? Danganronpa feels much more like a... I don't know. Almost like a typical anime story or something. I don't know. That's not really... Like, that's not really hitting what I mean with it. The beautiful thing about this game is that it actually intellectually challenges you, right? It's actually kind of a profound setup. It's almost like, for example, 2001: A Space Odyssey or something, right? This sort of fundamental shift or perspective shift of what a medium like this can do. Whereas something like Danganronpa is just a fun game, I guess, at the end of the day, right? Some people may like it, some people don't like it, but it's just something fun to do. It's not at all some fundamental thing that you have to have played, or I don't know. Is there actually something that I might have glossed over here? Trisme 426, that's just more of the same information. It's kind of funny how they just add this piece of information. Oh yeah, it's an AI. These guys I still find the most... They're such a cool and weird addition to this. Like, they're also AI, but they, compared to most other characters, actually feel... Like, for the longest time I thought, wait, are they maybe androids that came over from, like, the 2104 timeline or something? Because they're kind of weird, but I guess at the end of the day, they're just actual... I guess agents for a government agency. But it works so well. It's another sort of little piece or little detail that could go so many different directions. And at the end, funnily enough, in this particular case, the quote-unquote most boring interpretation is actually the correct one, but it works incredibly well because that's the one you would never think of as being the actual correct thing. Timeless code. Code that was written in 2188, 20 million... Oh, wait, that's actually the first confirmation that we got in the time frame. So it's 20 million years since 2188. Oh, that's crazy. I mean, not that it really matters in the end, right? Whether it's 10,000 or 20 million, the result is sort of the same. It is really cool, though, that... Well, first of all, thinking of humanity as an ancient civilization is kind of funny. But also, I definitely appreciate the little details that they get correct about this, right? It's something that I think other games clearly don't think as much about, or stories in general. But it makes a whole lot of sense because their probe that they build, even though it's like obviously really, really advanced technology nowadays because it's made in 2188, they still are definitely restricted by travel time across the universe, right? So they're not even close to traveling at light speed, which makes sense. A whole lot of sense, in fact, and that's why it takes so long to actually get to that other planet. So what did they say? It was like 1,200 light years away from Earth, and it took them about 20 million years to get there. That actually makes a surprising amount of sense. The 2188 researcher Shinonome is sick of humanity and believed peace could only be attained through genocide. She was the one responsible for this code. So she actually wanted humanity to die. That's the one little detail about her character that I wish they kind of would elaborate a little bit more on. But then again, I think had they done that, it would have given too much away. So it definitely works in terms of what the story wants you to know. And it kind of gives you, I guess, the possibility to speculate a little bit more about her character and about why she would want that. That's funny. Or it's fine. It works well. Yeah, I really the thing with especially with Lost. I watched Lost, I think, up until the start of season 4 or something, or maybe mid season 3. I don't know. And I thought initially, like, the first season was incredible. It was a really, really cool story, and it felt like it had these, because they pretended, right, that these secrets were actually really, well, like a really good setup. And so they convince you really, really well that they are in season 1, right? And slowly you realize, wait, they just inserted a whole bunch of bullshit in here that they never thought about, never had any sort of idea where they were going with it. And ultimately I just said, well, this is not worth watching. And it's crazy to think about that, right? How something that initially looks so incredible and so well set up turns out to be this absolute bullshit of things that, you know, feels like an 8-year-old wrote it for school, for like a school project, right? I mean, maybe that's being a little bit too harsh on it, but I just can't, especially after seeing, or not seeing episode 9 in case of Star Wars, but how the fuck can companies and entertainment industries greenlight projects that literally cost hundreds of millions of dollars but not have a proper setup for it? I just can't, like, why don't they spend a little bit of time sitting down one person who actually knows what they're doing for like a couple of months to at least come up with some basic structure that works? I don't understand. I mean, it doesn't have to be as complicated as this, right? And it doesn't have to be as well set up as this game, or as well thought out. But at least try. I mean, they're not even trying with a lot of stuff that comes out these days. And it also goes back to other games, essentially, because, I mean, the movies, the good thing about movies is they still make really, really good movies. It's just not the stuff that's typically shown in Hollywood. Or rather, you know, I guess with movies, there is a certain sort of mid-budget tier that I think is fairly good most of the time, whereas the high-budget things are mostly just garbage. With games, it's a little bit different, unfortunately, because most games are kind of garbage in storytelling. Like, they're really, really, really bad. And we don't really get that many games that have a good story, like, at all. So it's always kind of sad to see when new games are coming out and they just don't care about storytelling at all. It's like every single time. And already you can, you know, with most of the games, there is not a single game that has gotten a release date now or has been announced where I would go, oh yeah, I'm interested in that because of the story. Not a single game actually seems to have a good story that will release in the next like 3 years. And that's kind of sad to think about most of the time. Sometimes you get surprised, like sometimes they have like cool ideas in it that are still worth it to explore, but oh well. It's easy to write the first half of a mystery. That's a good way of putting it, yeah. It's just, I don't even... Like, obviously this game is really, really good with that, but you don't need that every single time, right? One cool twist might be enough, but it still needs to be earned, right? And I don't even... With a AAA game or like something that's just sort of light entertainment, right? You don't always want this either. You don't always want to sit there speculating about where the story is going for hours on end. Sometimes it's nice to have a more simple setup and just something that either only focuses on characters, or it's also fine to just focus on action as well, but you still need at least some fundamental thing that has been set up properly. If that's not there, then The loop. One loop before the current time, 2 loops ago. The nurturing of the 15 members started once the terraforming of the new planet was completed, but the details of the terraforming's official end date are unknown. Therefore, the details on when the current loop began or how many have passed before it are unknown. However, based on the stability of the facility, it's believed that there have been at least 300 loops leading up to this point. I was wondering about that, because what we heard through the story made it seem that the whole project was specifically set up with these loops in mind, right? So I thought that it was kind of strange that some stability issue crept up. But, well, if it's been 300 loops, then it makes more sense, right? Because even an advanced art like this probably would have some sort of limitation on its, I don't know, I guess internal structure or something. Proliferation of probes, a theory that Professor Yuki Takami of 2188 advocated and implemented for Project Arc. The probes carry DNA payloads to keep the human race alive, and they self-replicate and repair using the natural resources mined from asteroids in their path through deep space. They continually build up and break down, even through any unforeseen accidents. As long as they proliferate themselves like living organisms, they'll eventually arrive at their destination. That is also, it's just so well set up, because, I mean, that's basically a big current research thing that's going on, right? That, or rather, I don't even know, I guess a couple of those things have already been well tested and established, but DNA is actually the best sort of thing where we can save information that we have, right? I mean, most of our other stuff where we save, like SSDs, they're all, like, they break down within 10 to 20 years, right? Most of our physical safe points where we store digital data or data in general, most of it just can break down very, very easily. Whereas DNA, I think, can store data for, depending on the conditions, like 1,000 to 2,000 years. Though that would mean that for a project like this, it'd still have to be replicated and stuff like that, which, as we also know with DNA, isn't that easy and can lead to some alterations and or problems within the code. So you'd also need a lot of copies of it, I guess. Definitely an interesting field of research, I'd imagine, to try and sort out the issues that would come, because if you replicate DNA that many times over the course of millions of years potentially, making sure that it doesn't change is probably really, really difficult. You'd have to set up something like some sort of really, really clever, maybe some sort of algorithm that specifically goes over the DNA, like goes over multiple copies of the same DNA. And I mean, I guess we have the we have algorithms that make sure that data isn't being lost over like when it gets sent over the internet, for example, right? You'd have to do something like that where you'd have to potentially insert what are they called? Like safety bits or something into the DNA to make sure that even if it gets corrupted, you at least know that it has been corrupted and where the corruption was potentially. That'd be really interesting to try and do that with DNA. That's the knowledge lost point. That's actually another interesting point, right? That we only sort of got through this in the end because we also had the capability of getting information through multiple loops, with them discovering the UFO and being able to at least back up some data through a reset. But that's a good point, right? There may have been multiple points throughout the loops where they already were capable of doing that, but ultimately still lost that ability because they didn't get through the battle or something, and then everything was reset and they lost all their information about the UFO and everything. That's a good point, yeah. That was the work of Shakespeare. I don't know where I originally read that with the DNA. I definitely read an article at some point that mentioned DNA as being the best way to save stuff. It might have also referenced that, yeah. Cockroach DNA, that's that's also kind of a funny twist. That the greatest works of art would be saved by a cockroach, in a way. But yeah, that's... I guess, true, we do have a couple of bacteria and stuff that survive even in space, right? So I guess those would be the best candidates to analyze their DNA and figure out, well, why can they survive so well? And why does their DNA not really get altered all that much? Yeah, like a checksum algorithm. But that's the thing, right? You'd have to still have some stable record. So I don't know if that would really be possible. Like in reality. I mean, here in the game, they're not explaining it 100%, right? They're more hinting at how they've done it, or rather, they're telling you what you need to know, right? They're not going into the specifics of how they store that kind of information. But at least from our point of view today, I don't think that a stable record would really be possible, right? So you'd have to come up with a way of keeping enough copies and sort of copying them over in a really specific way that would make sure that all the information is constantly being checked against its origin. But then you also need to change the origin once you're sure that it's the correct kind of information, to make sure that the origin point also doesn't degrade over time or something like that. Especially sending it through space, right? That it's still, you'd also have to make sure that it's not being altered by all kinds of radiation, and that would still be incredibly difficult to do, probably. Because you'd have to access it, while at the same time keeping it as safe as possible, right? Yeah, I mean, they're mentioning that this probe that they send out is basically replicating itself over and over again, right? I mean, I guess if you set it up right, I think there's definitely some sort of mathematical way, and it'd still be insanely difficult, especially since there are so many factors that would threaten a stable DNA record. Maybe you could also use multiple ways of storing the information, though, like, I don't know. For example, temporarily copying it over to something that is way more stable to be dealt with in space or something, but is also doesn't hold as long, but is a good temporary solution until you created a new stable sample or something. Definitely interesting to think about how you could do that in the future. growth pods, intended to pass down humankind's culture and knowledge over the course of 20 years. These were meant for the 15 individuals who would inherit the new land. Those inside experience a world indistinguishable from reality through their nanomachines, as if they were living a normal life on Earth. I still find it interesting what kind of eras they chose as well. I was thinking about that at one point during the playthrough. Like, what kind of eras would you want to choose to preserve our culture and knowledge? It's probably an almost impossible task to do. And you'd never be able to really preserve all of it, I guess. At least not in like a living form. Unless you were to establish some sort of supercomputer that can simulate a billion different universes and worlds at the same time, which is just unlikely. And even then, you'd probably still find a point where you could simulate something else instead. Oh, these are just a different... Oh, that's interesting. EMP attractor, the different things that I've used throughout the destruction pods. It's actually kind of cool that they implemented this information in here as well. Even though ultimately it's all just simulated, but it's really cool how much detail they put into all of this. Which is another point. Like, even though everything's a simulation, they still... The amount of detail that's still there really makes it seem as if... Usually that's where stories kind of, well, not really fall apart, but they're definitely tipping you off, right? If there are points in the story where I guess sort of the level of detail just isn't as high as at another point in the story. Sometimes it tips you off about, oh, well, clearly something is wrong with this specific part of it, right? Or kind of shows you, oh, maybe this is going to be, you know, just a temporary story thread that they're following or something. But since they put so much detail into all of this, you can never be quite sure, right? You wouldn't think that they just basically dismiss all of this detail by saying, oh yeah, it's just a simulation, but they do. So that's also something that I feel like sometimes stories shy away from because they don't want to waste stuff that they write or setup that they do. Wait, she does have I didn't actually notice that. She has a flower in her hair inside the cockpit. It's kind of funny. I mean, well, that might also be a little bit of flavor added to it. The creators believe in the world, so you believe in the world. Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, that's another thing, right? That's, I guess, just a fundamentally different way of writing a story like this is to just write it the way you want the world to be, rather than thinking about how it would be perceived by the one that's playing through it in the end. I mean, obviously they still have to do that, but it's sort of I feel like a different thought process, right? It comes back to this whole setup of where nowadays sometimes they build twists into movies or something because they... I mean, I feel like a director at some point actually admitted to that as well, that they read a story on Reddit or something that basically saw through their plot twist, and so they changed it because of that, right? Because they didn't want their plot twist to be ruined before it happened, which is such a dumb way of writing a story, right? Because obviously that doesn't work. If you set it up in a certain way, then it needs to happen in that way because that's how it's been set up. You can't just change it on the fly because somebody found out about what was going to happen. And especially with millions of people being able to communicate with each other over the internet, things are always going to be found out, right? So it's just kind of dumb to write a story on a premise like that. And instead, you should just focus on your own thing, focus on the story you want to write and want to realize, and just go over from a perspective of one player going through it. Which is actually, funnily enough, as much as I like the From Software games and their weird storytelling setup, that is definitely one of the things that I like the least about it, I would say, is that they kind of force you, or they set it up in a way where it's sort of almost like a community project. It's set up a little bit that they sort of want people to speculate about it, but most of the time it ends up in a way where you have to do that. You have to engage with people, coming up with their theories and stuff, because it's almost impossible to really come up with everything on your own unless you're spending hundreds of hours, like, meticulously going through everything. And that's a bit too much for my taste, at least. Can still be fun, but it's also taking fun away from a single player going through it, I feel like. It's kind of hard to explain, but hope it comes across what I mean. Wait, aren't these most of these files are the ones that you'd get as bonus objectives though, right? I feel like. So do they just unlock once you get through the story? I guess so. Universal Control. All humans except for the 15 members of Project Ark are AI constructs that are controlled by Universal Control. The artificial satellite. Once a probe arrives at a new planet and creates the artificial satellite, it also creates the facility and the growth pods there. Inside the growth pods, all the DNA data is used to start the nurturing process of the 15 project members. The command ship monitors the surface facilities so it can determine whether the final phase needs to be redone before any harm may come to these facilities. Oh, so now it also, yeah, that makes sense. Juro, Izumi, and Morimura were able to unintentionally skip the loop because Tsukasa Okino sent their data to Sector Zero when the world was about to disappear 2 loops ago. Since then, Sector Zero has been used as a means to skip the loop. It's actually allocated to the virtual world playback machine as a storage region for the massive data that makes up each virtual space. It's also kind of interesting to see that it started out as, well, it kind of has, something like that has to start out as a little bit of an accident, right? Because it would be almost impossible to really know what's going on. Okay. Facility. In truth, it holds the growth pods and the computers that simulate virtual space. This facility was constructed on the planet after the terraforming phase was completed, built to last for about 5,000 years. Okay. It's actually not that long compared to the time span that the game uses. Killer line, yeah, it is really. Shootout dream. It's actually not a dream, but a real event that Izumi of 2 loops ago and Morimura experienced 1 loop ago. After this incident, Izumi gets captured by the police, Morimura escapes to another sector. Just so crazy that, so all of this is just happening because they have certain ideas of what they might need to do in order to get behind all of this and how it works, but the characters themselves obviously don't really know what's happening, so they're trying all kinds of different things to get through it, and you are sitting there experiencing it and are just completely thrown off sometimes, or speculating about what they might want to achieve and why, and it's all really, really well done. Interstellar Development Project. First phase of the Space Initiative ends with the dispersal of countless probes carrying the DNA data of the 15 individuals. Second phase ends when the terraforming of the new planet is completed. Final phase refers to the creation of clones based off of the DNA data of the 15 individuals, dormant until they safely arrive at their new Earth when they reach 20 years in age. Furthermore, the 15 clones spend their 20 years in a virtual space while they undergo a special training program designed to provide vital knowledge for the final 2 years. Which is also another interesting detail, that essentially the terraforming of the planet where they ultimately ended up with still must have been done by kaiju machines, right? Ultimately. By actual ones. Actual construction machines rather than the stuff we've been fighting. That's kind of neat. The Nightmare. Dream is an incident that occurred 1 loop ago. The person who killed everyone is Juro Izumi from 2 loops ago. There was a total of 6 deaths, which include Juro Izumi from 1 loop ago, Ace Kigahara, Ryoko Shinanomi, Tsukasa Okino, Yakushiji Morima. This was one of the things that also tripped me up for the longest time, where I was I didn't understand where it was properly placed sort of within the timeline, because at that point obviously I didn't know about the loops yet. So, because doesn't this scene also happen really, really early on? I feel like I saw this when it was maybe like 20% through the game, something like that. And then with all the androids that are going about, and then Ida wanting to recreate the Kisaragi and everything, and you're kind of going, well, wait, what? Why are they still alive, or should they be dead? And that was really crazy. That was definitely really, really hard to get behind how this fits in, and you don't really, at least in my case, I didn't really understand how this nightmare and the killing of these people fit into the whole thing until I got the information about the loops. Because even with time travel, it didn't really seem to make, well, at least it seemed like there were too many contradictions for, if the time travel would have been real, this scene still wouldn't have fit within the information that I had at that point. The link between Amiguchi and Ida, yeah, that was something that I also... It's also because they look so different, and I mean, clearly that's done on purpose, but it's really, that was a tough one to sort of get behind, and I felt like I never really, like, it basically took the game literally showing me what was happening until I understood who was who and why and what their objectives were. And even until the very end, Ida's sort of whole thing and being was quite difficult to see through, I would say. Because he's sometimes also presented as somebody who knows way more than they're letting on, right? I felt like during a couple of scenes, Ida seemed to know a lot about what the world actually was, even though I at that point didn't really know. But then later on it gets revealed that he doesn't really know, or he still thinks in the sort of constraints of time travel for the longest time as well, which is also such a cool setup of you could just never be quite sure if the characters, like, or what kind of knowledge base the characters have. Sometimes they seem to know way more than the player, and sometimes you just suddenly realize, oh wait, they actually don't know that much more than I do. And sort of, they're also going off of limited information in their actions, which is also really cool because it makes sense, right? They wouldn't have access to everything, and like it just works really well in obscuring certain facts about how the world actually exists within the game, by showing you things or telling you things just from the perspective of certain characters, which is also really, really cool sort of during the, I would say, I guess you could call it Act 2 of the game, when finally scenes start to sort of flow into one another, right? You suddenly see scenes from the perspectives of multiple characters and sort of the different, I guess, information or knowledge that the characters have at those certain points. You realize, oh, they're also not really, sometimes they're not really truthful with each other either, but that's also largely due to the fact that obviously nobody would believe them if they just suddenly would, I don't know, in Megumi's case, for example, talk about a talking cat that's talking to her, right? Yeah, Ida being this tragic character like Izumi that knows a lot, but it's so cool, just it's really, really difficult. For the longest time it had been really difficult to figure out, well, how much do they know, right? Because they're really at this sort of almost like a they're so close to getting it, yet they still don't have the entire picture. And I don't know, sometimes some of the scenes are being presented as if they have the entire picture, and sometimes they're presented as not knowing anything at all. Well, not knowing anything at all, but I don't know, it's sometimes, especially with Izumi, sometimes it's hard to tell whether or not he does something like killing those people because he knows a lot what that might entail. Especially back when I still thought it was time travel, I thought that, did he do that because he knew that it would somehow alter the timeline in a way that ultimately saves everybody in a different timeline or something? I think that was something that I initially thought. But turns out at that point he himself didn't really know too much about this, but in a weird, twisted way, it was also necessary to happen so that he could know that that's not how it worked. So, yeah. I like that about the ending. I have to be honest that it was so upbeat, because I truly thought, especially with most of the scenes that we get from 2188, being like, especially when you finally realize, oh, humanity was actually wiped out, and there's this nanomachine fuckery going on, and somebody potentially killed all of humanity so that they could survive in like an arc. All of that stuff, I thought I wouldn't have been surprised if the game literally ended on, oh, we didn't make it. This whole plan was ultimately fruitless and everybody's dead. Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised if the game would have ended like that. But, which is why I think that it's another thing where truly earning a happy end is another thing that I feel like a lot of stories struggle with. So they sometimes feel kind of flat, or they're just sort of nice, but never really quite that impactful, which is then why other stories try to sort of combat that with being overly negative in their end. But yeah, ultimately it comes down to that it needs to be earned, right? And with the game having a very, very clear possibility of ending absolutely not happily, I think it works really well that it ultimately does end up in that way, where everybody seems to be happy. And since it's also, it's not really an end, right? It's almost more like a beginning, actually. The beginning of this new era of humans on another Earth. So, I think that's also why it works so well, because it's, they're happy at that point in time, but obviously they still have a lot of work ahead of them. They still have, ultimately doesn't mean that it's going to be this happy place forever. which, yeah. But the fact that they have that chance is what makes the ending ultimately, I feel like, work really, really well in terms of its tone. Oh, yeah, I remember the scene where they talk. Yeah, I was actually, I think at that point in time, because it happened not only with the two, I feel like, but there was also another scene with the girls, I think, sort of, kind of, it was almost as if they were feeling it out, right? Would my friends believe me when I tell them? And they sort of awkwardly tiptoe around the subject, but don't really tell each other what's going on. I think there was also another scene with, was it Juro, Shu, and Iori maybe, where they all talk about their dreams? But it feels like they should realize that, you know, clearly there's something going on here, that they're dreaming about each other in that, like, in a very similar way. But they still don't really do anything with that knowledge, and it feels so real, right? Because that definitely would be what would happen in reality. The character wouldn't just magically know, oh, okay, this is what's going on, right? They would be really, really unsure about what's actually going on. And even though, as you said, they're all, like, pretty good friends, at least in certain cases, that is something that you can't just talk about, right? It's not something that is ultimately or instantly sort of clear. It would be a long sort of process of discovery and, you know, getting more and more hints, and maybe at a certain point they would trust each other and trust that what they've been seeing is clearly something more than just, I don't know, a dream or something else. But again, such another clever setup, and it's also because of that, and going through the scenes and seeing the same scene from different perspectives, that you're never quite sure, almost all the way to the end, whether or not something might have just been a setup, or somebody else wanted them to think that, or if there's some nanomachine that is just showing that to them. Right, which is also the fact that Izumi's AI, for example, lives inside Juro and just projects Shiba in front of him. The fact that happens to one character, right, makes you think, well, you know, is this true? What maybe isn't true? Could there be something else like that going on with another character as well, but it's just not shown to us? So many different possibilities that work so well with obscuring certain storylines. Ida's still arguably the most evil character. Yeah, though. Well, that's at the end of the day, I think it's cool that they give him a happy end as well in that sense. Because even though he was quite evil in a way, I thought it was also quite understandable from, I guess, his point of view. I mean, that obviously doesn't mean that his actions were warranted or anything, but it's a very different evil, I guess, to what you would typically have as an actual evil character in a story. It was just more that he was, yeah, sort of going off of his own goals and was just a bit more, I don't know, maybe ruthless than other characters. But even that, it's not really correctly describing what he was, I feel like. It's difficult to really put like a moral compass on all of these actions anyways, yeah, I feel like just with Izumi killing a couple of people, ultimately, it was kind of, in a weird, twisted way, it was kind of necessary, because how else are they going to get information about that, right? I mean, there might have been other ways as well, but yeah, it's in a kind of sort of simulated world, even though they didn't really know about that, obviously, it'd still be it's difficult to really morally gauge these actions, I guess. Cool motive, still murder. That's actually I don't know if I've ever seen that, but yeah, true. And yeah, it also gives Miyuki a happy end as well. Yeah, I really think that the ending is definitely really, really good. Also, it allows the whole game to sort of come together really well, which I was definitely a little bit afraid of, because it all felt like, even up until the very end, before the ending scenes, right? There was still sort of things left unanswered in a way, I felt like, or at least not really addressed in a way where I felt like, I don't know, I was kind of worried that the ending might not be able to really live up to everything that was built up and set up, right, in that regard. Because it felt really, really difficult to do, but I think ultimately it works really, really well, because it's also in a way not an overly complicated ending, right? The ending in and of itself, I would say, is like obviously a lot more straightforward than the rest of the game, and I feel like it needs to be, because that allows the game to really wrap up the whole thing neatly without being, I don't know, just sort of, because I felt like it needed that. It needed this final good moment to make you not really be hung up on any detail or anything that might sort of sour the moment, or I don't know. It's kind of difficult to really express, but yeah. I think it kind of needed to be that. Not that it, probably also would have worked in other ways. But, yeah. Well, yeah, true. Ida believes he's killing a million to save one. But, then again, he also knew that the others were technically coming back just without the knowledge, right? So is it really killing at that point? It's difficult to really gauge, I feel like. Obviously, it still doesn't make it better, but yeah, it's sort of comes back to this problem just with Izumi, right? I mean, is it really? I don't really think there's a proper answer to the question of would killing 15 people and saving a million lives be the correct action? Like, mathematically speaking, yes, but it's unless you somehow had access to a full sort of actual timeline, like real world timeline that would also show you the entire future up until the very end of the universe, I think it'd be impossible to ever have like a full sort of definite answer of, oh yeah, this is a bad action or this is a good action. There will always be some sort of gray bit in there. So it's but it's always fun to think about, to be honest, in terms of stories. Not in the real world, obviously, but yeah, when a story presents something like that, it's always really, really interesting, in my opinion, to try and figure out, well, was it really good? Was it bad? If it was bad, how bad was it? And, I guess it also comes back to, well, what were the options? What kind of knowledge was he going off of? Would there have been another path that he could have taken that would have attained the same thing, but saved everybody or something? Yeah, the epilogue is, I think, that's one big part of why it works so well. It's up until that point, especially with the Daimos and everything, you're sort of battling against so many things. You're still lacking some parts of, like, knowledge. You're battling the robots, but you're also kind of seemingly working against certain characters, and you're you still have this entire, well, not really a threat, but everything that happened to the actual humans back on Earth in the back of your mind, and to have this final payout be a good one is, they definitely made the right call on that. And it's just, the way it's presented is also, the music of the game, even though it actually doesn't have that many, like, tracks, in a way, I feel like, especially in that particular scene, the music's just really, really good. Just with everything else, I feel like if anything, this game, really proves that I don't know what kind of team was behind this game in terms of numbers, and also I don't know how much budget it actually had, but it definitely feels like they just made the most of what they had in every single way. And with the music as well, right? There aren't that many tracks, there aren't that many sort of big musical moments within the game, but when it needs to be there, when it counts, it is there, and is beautiful. And that was another big part of the ending, is just that the imagery that they chose and the music that went along with it, I don't know, it was just incredibly well done. It's also, they also show you these big full-screen images all of a sudden, where up until that point it had been sort of background scenes with the foreground characters in it, and it was just a slightly different, yet also distinctly the same art style, obviously, and it's worked out very, very well. Oh, that's interesting. They also tell you a little bit about the technology in these different parts of the sectors. And more information about his motorcycle. Rental agreement. And the truth. Oh, that's a really cool sort of ending file. Yeah, the Seaside Vacation song, it shows so well how something, because I think if you were to hear it sort of completely isolated from the game, you didn't know about the game, you were just to hear that song, it might come off as some sort of just cheesy pop song or something, right? You wouldn't necessarily pay too much mind to it in a way, although, well, I don't know about it. Maybe it would also be a little bit more special than your typical pop song. But the way it's presented in game is just absolutely phenomenal. especially with the setup, you first hear it on TV, right? And already at that point, you definitely feel there's something about it, right? Because it's the first time there is a piece of music with like actual lyrics to it, and it feels distinctly different to the music that has been in the game up until that point. Yet it's also just in the background. It's this sort of almost random piece of music that just happens to be playing on TV, right? I think the first time it appears, I don't even know if you already talked to her through the TV. It might be that I think you're actually just hearing the song at that point, and it's the second scene where you actually talk to her. That I don't remember clearly, but such a kind of a beautiful introduction to, like, it's this really, really like small introduction to a big piece of music for the game, right, in relation to the rest of the music in the game. And then, you know, getting all the character progression with her and realizing she's this AI in that satellite, and then it all leads up to that boss battle, and suddenly the music plays in the background. And it also stops, right, once she is supposedly behind the orbit where she can't reach them anymore. So great. So well done. But that's also during the final battle, I think I also mentioned that. During the final battle, there's this, like, alternate version to the main theme of the game that's playing in the background, and it has this really cool build-up. I don't know, it's a... really, really good use of music. They definitely knew what they were doing. Well, with the whole game, they knew what they were doing, but it just shows in, like, every single detail. Everything's just used so well. That's, I think, another sort of incredible point that I didn't think that there was sort of a... Like, usually I think about, well, sort of what you know, when I try to gauge how much I really like a game, I always look at the stuff that I didn't like to figure out, okay, so, you know, could this have been better? What are the sort of things that you had difficulty with? But with this game, I don't know. At least right now, I can't really think of a single point where I would have gone, oh, yeah, I didn't like that. Or I wish they would have done that differently. Which is crazy. It's been a long time since I thought that about a game, I feel like. Which kind of goes to show this is probably going to be one of my all-time favorites. Which I don't have that many of. And it's also a game that I never would have expected to be one of my favorites. But then again, well, I guess that's almost usually the case. Well, the truth. The place they reside on now is planet RS-13 Alpha. I actually wonder if that's a real planet. There is a data bank, right, that we have of, like, exoplanets that we found. I wonder if they picked one of those for the game. Would be kind of a cool detail. 1,200 light years from Earth following the Virgo constellation. They also give you a specific point in the sky, so it might be an actual exoplanet. It has been 20 million years since the probes departed Earth. That's actually... Wait a second. So if it's 1,200 light years... Wait, what was I trying to do? I was figuring out how fast they can travel. It's the other way around then. Is this my math correct here? It's 0.00006% of light speed that they travel at, roughly. I mean, I guess there could be also other stuff going on, but does that make sense? How fast would that be? I guess, let's see. Was it 3 million? God, it's been a while since I looked at the physics stuff of this side, but, oh no, not times 0.00006. Would it be 180 meters per second? Could that be correct? It would be kind of slow. I guess it roughly works out. I mean, supposedly they wouldn't have been traveling all that time, right? If the probe's also replicating itself and stuff, like, there's definitely other stuff going on. And then also we don't really... Oh, we also have to include, I guess, the time that it took for the whole thing, for the loops to go, like, to happen 300 times and stuff. I mean, some of that was while it was traveling, but then the planet also needed to be terraformed, right? Which some other entry has mentioned takes some not insignificant amount of time. Works out quite well, though. It definitely makes sense from a physics standpoint, I feel like. Change course, gather resources. Yeah, we also don't know if they took... I guess they wouldn't have necessarily took a straight line towards that place, right? And survivability, not speed. Though technically, right. That's actually an interesting point, because I feel like recently there was another, I think, article about a potential project that is currently being, well, at least thought about, to send probes to our nearest solar system, right? Alpha Centauri should be the one. Proxima Centauri is the... No, wait. One of those is the star. The other one is the star system. Never mind. The closest one to us, anyways. And I think it's like 4 light years away or something. Or 1 light year away, but it would take... Anyways, they want to build like small probes that they can basically fire a laser at, get it up to 20% light speed, and then while it's flying by Proxima Centauri, it's supposed to snap some couple of really quick pictures and send them back to us. But yeah, that's been another interesting thing that, especially with potentially faster than light speed travel, you'd also have to have a way of slowing down again. Like if you were to bend hyperspace stuff, right, or bend space, even though that from an energy standpoint isn't really possible, it would be mathematically possible, but you'd also have to reverse it, right? And you'd have to make it so that you can also slow down again. So even if you were capable of traveling at the speed of light, it doesn't really do anything for you if you can't slow down at your destination enough to, or if that would take so much energy that, right? And as you said, if it's built for survivability rather than getting there fast, I mean, that's another really neat detail here, right? Is that it just makes sense. If you were to build a probe like that, as long as you know, because you would never be able to communicate with people 1,200 light years away from Earth anyway, right? So there is no point in getting there as fast as possible. So if you have the capability of building a ship or probe or whatever that can basically store this DNA data for an indefinite amount of time, it just doesn't matter how long it takes you to get there, right? It just doesn't matter. As long as the universe hasn't died. But that's hopefully far, far more away in the future. Something like that. So yeah, I guess it actually makes sense that they would travel kind of probably as slow as they can. Because then they could also take either quick turns, or they could, you know, deal with potential damage to the probe or whatever in a way more reasonable way. Anyways. It's four light years, yeah, I think. Something like that. Yeah, and since humanity is dead anyways, right? I mean, yeah, I guess it comes back to the point of, I guess in reality, it would still be somewhat, you'd still want to get there reasonably fast, because there would always, I feel like, be a chance of potential damage. Though obviously that also, with increases in technology and everything, I guess you'd also be capable of avoiding major threats like some gamma rays or star explosions and whatnot, right? I mean, you probably pre-calculate a bunch of stuff as well. And technically 1,200 light years isn't even that far away, right? I mean, that's like what? 5%? No. Wait, yeah, about like 5% the radius of our galaxy or something. So, yeah, it's technically still in the same region of our galaxy as Earth is, right? More or less. So, depending on the direction you're going in. So I guess there wouldn't necessarily be any major threats in the time span or in the way. Man, that really, I really wonder if that would be an interesting, if we would even want to do this, if we had the capability of, obviously in this case, since humanity's dead, it's kind of necessary in a way, even though apparently the original Shinonome disagreed with that, but it's the only chance humanity has for survival, right? But let's say humanity does survive, or just still exists normally in 200 years or something, and we'd have the capability of sending probes with our own DNA to potentially clone ourselves, or at least a couple of people, and put them on a different planet, even though we might never know about them or who they become or what happens to them. If we had the capability of doing it, if it would make sense to do so. I mean, ultimately, would we even care? But such an interesting way of potentially populating the galaxy. When the terraforming of the new planet was finished, the cloning process from the DNA of the 15 began in the facility area, and the city has the 15 believed to be reality was a simulated environment in digital space, while in reality their true bodies were gestating in growth pods. The nanomachines in their brains made their experiences feel real. These are the experiences of 15 children who ventured forth into an undiscovered land 20 million years after humanity initiated Project Ark on the brink of extinction. After millennia of wandering through space, they finally find a new home. And it was such a beautiful image as well. Almost makes me kind of wish that they had included a bunch more information on this. Like, what kind of system is the planet in? Though maybe they have based it on an actual planet and we would know. But I also appreciate the game not elaborating on it too much, because kind of leaves it open to your imagination, right? And to everybody's sort of, depending on how you look at everything. It also leaves the point open of would they actually create a prosperous new world, right? Or is this maybe like a bittersweet happy ending of knowing that with everything humans always do, maybe whatever this new planet will become will also suffer the same fate as Earth at some point in the future? We probably will never know. That whole point with there being a whole swarm of probes, right? It's such another cool little thing about the game is that they put in a couple more hints that maybe this is just one out of many cases of humanity's survival, right? I mean, maybe after 20 million years, 4 other Earths have already existed and died off again, right? But this is the one story we were specifically following. We don't even really know. And with the point of everyone liking to leave a legacy, yeah, I think humans ultimately would want to do it because of that. If we had the capability of potentially just creating new life on other planets in somewhat of a, well, not really easy way, but certainly in a way that would be, would definitely be something we'd do. Yeah, thank you for the chat as well. It was really nice for you to stop by. It's such a beautiful game and so much to talk about. I think I'm also slowly going to end it here because, well, this has been the entire event archive. Right, we do have a new area of destruction. I guess that's... Wait, do we? Oh, yeah. Oh, these are even more waves than the other ones. So that's cool that they also give you more here. Good night. There is another scene, right? I mean, there is more with these battles going on as well. Just think about when I would maybe want to do that. Because if I were to get into this now, I feel like that'd take a long time, potentially. And since it's getting close to my lunch, might be a good stopping point for now. That does bring up the question, though. How do I want to how would I like to continue with this? I mean, there's still a little bit to uncover. I could go into the destruction mode again. So usually I would have continued streaming this on Tuesday. I do have to admit I would like to start something new as well, though. So maybe this would kind of be like a neat, smaller thing to come back to from time to time and just go through the rest of the battles. I mean, they are quite fun. And there's still a bunch of stuff to unlock with the, in terms of the character's progression. Like, they can all get to level 30, and I can still upgrade the rest of their weapons, and I feel like I think what the last 2 boss battles have showed me is that I didn't really utilize a couple of the features as much as I could have. Like some of the countermeasures, for example, that you can do against certain types of kaiju. So exploring that a little bit more, getting a couple more bits and pieces of information about the destruction pod and everything, still be pretty awesome, I think. Let's go back to the title screen. I think that's going to be a good stopping point for now. The end of the game, and it was really, really good. Such an awesome game. This is definitely a game that I honestly think that completely independent of the sort of genres people typically like, I think this is definitely among the games that should be played by almost anybody. Like, by everyone, basically. I mean, obviously there might be people who don't really enjoy this type of game all that much, but at least experiencing it, right? If you're not really keen on playing it yourself, then just watch it being played. But yeah, it just broadens your perspective on what the medium can do. I think is really, really important, because I certainly would want more stories to be this, right? To be as just fundamentally awesome as this one. I don't know how else to put it. It's been an absolute blast playing through it, and as I mentioned before, it's crazy to think about that there isn't really a single thing, like, aside from, maybe there, I would say during the destruction pod, some of the UI elements I wish were a little bit clearer, especially if there's a lot of enemies on the screen. It can be a little bit difficult to sometimes see what's actually happening, stuff like that. There are little bits and pieces that could have maybe been done a little bit different, but ultimately, in the grand scheme of the game, they don't really matter, which is the best thing about this. They focused on what mattered. They focused on the story that they wanted to tell, and on the elements that they needed in order to tell the story. And they were kind of uncompromising on that end, I think, which is quite beautiful to see. Well, since I usually stream for longer than this, though, or rather beyond my lunch, I might come back with something else. I mean, I probably want to continue Jedi Fallen Order tomorrow. So that's still the same as always. I don't know, though. I might take the time today to just, think a little bit more about the game. Maybe also watch a couple of other playthroughs. I think there's definitely Crystal, the Twitch streamer. She did like a highlight video, I think, of her playthrough, which I definitely want to watch. I know I mentioned Joseph Anderson a couple times on stream. He's a YouTuber who also streams on Twitch, and he's planning to play this game again. It's still probably going to take a couple months until he gets to it, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what he thinks about this game. Because being a writer, he always has really interesting opinions, and sort of sees through a lot of stuff a lot more quickly than I do most of the time. So it's going to be a blast to see, I feel like. So yeah, a lot of stuff to look at. In terms of what else I'm going to be doing, as I said, the rest of the destruction pod, I think, having done this now, it might actually be a good idea. I'm taking a little bit of a break on this game and maybe get more input on it. That's definitely a thing that I like to do, is just watch other people play through it, watch their kind of takes and their ideas and discussion points about it, And then I think that would be a good point to, at that point, come back to the game, maybe just sort of casually play through the rest of the destruction pods and talk a little bit more about, you know, other things that I personally might not have picked up on or might not have been, you know, aware of, or other sort of just lines of thinking that I didn't come up with, and discuss those as well. In terms of games, though, as I said, Jedi Fallen Order is another thing that I want to get through, and that's going to be tomorrow. I won't be finished with it tomorrow, obviously. I think that'll take at least a couple more streams. In terms of other games, I still need to get through the 6.15 content in Final Fantasy. It's been a while since I played 14, since my static disbanded from the Ultimate Raid. I didn't really have the motivation to go back to it, and since I have still so many other games to play, I kind of wanted to prioritize them, but I definitely also wanted... So maybe I'm gonna put in like a little additional stream here or there. And going back to Final Fantasy, couple of the bigger games that I want to stream in the future, though, are going to be Divinity Original Sin. I was still waiting for a sale on that, to be honest, on the store. I got Divinity Original Sin 2 on sale. The first game still costs $40, but maybe it's just worth it. I don't know. So that might be a thing. Definitely want to play Outer Wilds still. Don't really know when, though. And I also want to go into get into Disco Elysium. Or get through that, rather. But as I said, I need to make up my mind about that, and I'll hopefully adjust my stream schedule on Twitch as well, if you're interested in that. Other than that, that's going to be it for the time being. It was a ton of fun streaming this game. It was a ton of fun talking to different people about it, chatting about it, and all that remains is I hope you have a great rest of your day, evening, morning, wherever you are. And hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Until then. Bye-bye.